No, now you're a full-time nerd, baby, all the way. Gain an extra 50 pounds pounding away those snacks. No exercise for you. It's just sitting around playing games, watching TV. Milk chugs, more like milk chugs than milk duds. How do they call them milk duds when everyone is a winner? They're not. There's not. I've yet to find an actual dud.
So, Biff, you are an American when you walk into the bathroom. You are an American when you walk out of the bathroom. What are you when you're in the bathroom?
I'd like to start off the joke by explain the premise that I've never been American.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be Japanese.
Well, it doesn't work. Okay, Joe, you walk into the bathroom.
There's Joe on the podcast? What the hell?
You're an American when you walk into the bathroom, and you're an American when you walk out of the bathroom. I know you're of Portuguese descent. I get that. But for the premise of the joke, what are you when you're in the bathroom?
Shitting.
European.
See? European. Damn it. I was so close. I went number 2.
That joke went so well. My God. Maybe we could have another joke that'll go equally well.
Biff, what do you get when you combine a rhetorical question and a joke?
What do you get when you combine a rhetorical question and a joke? Jacques.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carnival Personnel. I'm Jacques.
I wish I wasn't here. This is Biff.
And I'm embarrassed for us all.
As you should know. I think we're beyond embarrassed. I think we need a new word. The next
carnival
level
intervention.
Next level embarrassed. Yeah.
They say don't meet your heroes, but yet All-Star Tommy got to meet Joe this week.
There you go.
It was Joe. Joe, how do you like finally, after years of talking to via the podcast and text messaging, actually getting to converse with All-Star Tommy?
All-Star Tommy is a delight. He's a delightful man, and his family is delightful as well. And we had a great time in the brief few hours we spent last Friday evening in Boston, but it was a joy. He was very down to earth. He did this weird thing, and I'm not used to this with people that I hang out with, is that they don't talk all the time. So he says something, and then he pauses.
Yeah, he does this thing called listening.
Yeah,
he does this thing called this thing. It's this weird thing.
I had to Google it when he did it. I was like, "What's happening?" And so then we had a conversation, and it was great. It was nice. Do you want to tell basically the other 3 listeners to the Carnival Personal Podcast how the evening went?
I picked up Joe, and because management was in New Orleans with our oldest kid for Duran Duran week.
New Orleans? No, that doesn't work.
No.
Actually, it does. And they had a great time. I'll talk about that in a bit. But I had my little guy in tow, and so I picked up Joe. We went over. Tommy had said, "Hey, he wants to go see comedy in Boston. His daughter, who's looking at college's favorite show is Miss Maisel. Are you doing anything? And I didn't know he was coming to town. I could have probably put something together, but it was kind of a last minute thing. I didn't schedule anything knowing that management was going to be out of town. So Joe took over as Julie McCoy and was the cruise director. And what did we end up doing? I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to be a fly on the wall, if you will, as you break down the next 2 hours we spent with the All-Star family, All-Star Tommy's family.
So on the spot, I remembered in the back of my mind, oh, we're kind of near where Nick's Comedy Stop used to be, which was a, you know, back in the 90s, like a local comedy place. So I like jokingly said to Jacques, want to go to Nick's Comedy Stop? And, you know, he looks into me with like a wry smile and I go, how about Dick Doherty's? You know, is he still around? Another, you know, famous spot back in the day. Lo and behold, did some Googling, still exists. And is still in the same spot, which was like a 5-minute walk from where Tommy's family was staying, which was perfect. And like the doors were opening like literally like 15 minutes from when we decided to go. And so it was just a perfect little happenstance. We all went. Everybody was over 21, which is great. And that worked out well. We all got in, no problems. Jacques, thank you for picking up our covers. Yeah, we walked down to Nick's Comedy Stop to see some live comedy on a Friday night in Boston. You know, the place was pretty, you know, like we got some nice seats. We were like one of the first ones there. And by the time the show started, the house was pretty much full except for like the front row of literal plastic folding chairs, which kind of threw me. But in any event, you know, we saw some comedy. I'll just say we saw comedy. The host, I don't remember anybody's name because I'm still learning your name, Biff. I'm still learning Jim's name here. So, you know, when we see the host, he introduces himself, he gets up, he does his thing. It's fine. He's a little laid back. He seems like he's still kind of working out whatever he was working out on stage. For the first time, it seemed, but whatever. It smoothed out. He introduced the first comic, and was the first comic the female comedian or
yeah.
Okay, and she was unusual. I couldn't tell if she was doing like a Judy Tenuta meets Stephen Wright type bit, or if that was the real deal. And turns out after she exits stage right even. Jacques leans over and says to me, wow, she's just as bad when I see her in Worcester. And I go, oh, you know this person. And then the next comic goes up. Mid-20s-ish, white, cis male guy, you know. I forget if he's from the area. I forget where he was from, but he's, you know, been in the Boston comedy scene for a while. Gets into, you know, some jokes about the non-binary. And,
of course.
Let me tell you, somebody in the audience had a comment about his comments about the non-binary. Not that he was necessarily bashing them in quotes, but, you know, he took a kind of a, let's say, non-unfunny or non-funny approach to, damn it, I blew the line, non-funny approach to non-binary people. And there was some heckling going back and forth and kind of lost the crowd. So much so that they were volleying back and forth, this heckler and the comic. And the comic wasn't really, you know, I don't know, he wasn't really shooting down the heckler. So the heckler was just sort of having their way. Even I piped up because it was just that awkward, weird silence. And so I chimed in.
Well, I mean, isn't dealing with heckler like its own art form, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that, right? So, I mean, you got to be able to do it, right?
You have to learn how to deal with a heckler.
Yeah.
And so I kind of half out loud said, man, I'm loving this live Yelp review we're getting from the audience. And somebody leaned over, or somebody laughed and heard me and pointed at me and said, now that's funny. And then that got the comic's attention. So he's like, I'm sorry, what's going on over here? And he puts his hand over his eyes like he's looking at the crowd. And I go, oh, no, I was just saying that I'm loving this live Yelp review. And I get more laughter because now the whole crowd can hear it. And then we move on from there. But he did not recover. And even the host had to kind of, you know, acknowledge the tenseness in the room and move on. So yeah, he ate shit on stage. That was not pleasant. So then the third comic went up, and he was great. He was the second to headliner, right before the opener before the headliner, and he was a white guy. He apparently spent time as a young person in Portugal, and I was like, "Ooh, what Portugal? What's that?" So I immediately felt bad for him, and then he.
but that was a great bit about the language barrier. We'll say that his parents.
Yes, yeah. So he was good. He brought the crowd back, and then the headliner, she went up dressed up as Marge Simpson, and almost like literally with like the blue hair kind of thing, So she went up, did her thing. She was great. The crowd seemed to be there. I think a lot of the crowd seemed to be there for her, because when the host was introducing her, he said she's going to be a star, and the crowd agreed. And I don't remember her name.
One of those known up and coming. She's like the Guns N' Roses of the
yes. I guess it was her like third time headlining at Nick's, so she's getting up there, and she was great too. She delivered, let's say.
Okay.
And it was a good time. So all in all, I'd rate it. I'd say I'd give the first comic 1 out of 4 stars. I'd give the second comic a half star. I'd give the third comic 3 1/4 stars, and I'd give the headliner 3 3/4 stars. So she's going on to the semifinals to battle against Sinbad in the finals of Star Search. Now let's hear from our spokesperson, Jacques. Jacques, tell him what's coming up next on Star Search.
So as we're walking to Nick's, it dawns on me, oh crap, this is a real comedy club. This is a 21 plus thing. I got my little guy. Like he's 13 and he could definitely pass for 12. I mean, we're not aging him up. And I get up there and I said to the guy, it's like, I'm like, is this 21 plus? He goes, yep. He goes, everyone 21 plus. And I point to him, goes, oh yeah, he's 21. And the guy's like, well, you his father. I'm like, yeah. He goes, there's a lot of swearing. If you're okay with that. And of course I look at him and go, hey, asshole, you okay with a lot of swearing or something like that? And everybody chuckles. And they're like, okay.
I did.
So before we go too far on this, I just looked up where Nick's is, and it's like near Chinatown, near Tufts Medical Center, right? Because I've stayed in that neighborhood before.
Yeah, it's like right near like the theater district in Boston.
Right. So then, like, you didn't take them to Jacques Cabaret?
I haven't gone there yet, but they have a great open mic on Sundays. But Sundays, like night, is a tough thing to get out to, and it's a great one. No, and management loves that place. They have a
but you had All Stars family there, and you didn't take him to Jacques Cabaret. Like
I didn't, because they specifically wanted to see comedy because they love Miss Maisel. And so anyway, so I point to the little guy, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's fine." And here's what's funny, but then they're balking at All-Star Tommy's daughter getting in, who's 17 with both parents. Like it's my, and you know how I percent. It's like, yeah, sure, this guy should be in charge of anybody's life.
You're the homeless guy that gets tickets for the 5-year-olds to go see an R-rated movie.
100%, but no problem getting in my 5 feet tall, 100-pound, like just turned 13, kid. But they were, and then it's like, okay, no, it's fine. You guys are all together. And then we go up the steps, and another security person's like, oh, you check her ID. It's like, my little guy walks right past him. It's like, oh, nope, it's fine. He's a boy. He can go right on in, but let's let this delicate little flower here. And yeah, I'm surprised that you gave the first comedian a star, and the other one half a star. And the guy who was flubbing, I think you could see where he was gonna go with it, but he didn't get there fast enough. Plus, he didn't get there funny enough. He wasn't punching down, but it just, yeah. And I felt so bad.
So he's not funny, so that's why he failed as a comic, is what you're saying.
Look, his set sucked. He just he kind of when you go up and you tell, if you're gonna dance around or if you're gonna address like stuff that like I think his joke, and I'm gonna blow it, because you don't know the guy's name. He goes, non-binaries are like the bottom of the LGBTQ community because they don't even have a letter in the LGBTQ. You know, there's the gays are the most fun. We can all agree. And then there's lesbians, and then like so he starts ranking the people who are on the queer spectrum or whatever you want to call it. And so he comes, but he's coming again. He's a white cis guy, like he's like a straight white cis guy. So he's, or at least he presents as such. So like coming from him, that's like, oh, this douche. All right, what is he gonna say about gay or trans and non-binaries? Like, what's he got to, like, what's his take and what's grinding his gears this week about the letters that he doesn't like or whatever. And so it comes off. People bristle, and there was probably, I'm pretty sure that the person that heckled him may have been non-binary and probably like, well, fuck this guy.
Yeah, no, my Thadar went off. And he was raking the parades, on the LGBT, spectrum. It's like, oh, we know the, gays or the, blah, blah, blah. And then when that person was kind of heckling, he's like, you're proving my point, which got a laugh, but then he couldn't get back on track. It got sidebarred. And he didn't just go to, and when Joe said that and got the laugh, he got the laugh from the little group around us. And then when the comedian had him say it, it was at that point in time, the biggest laugh that the whole room had. And All-Star looks at me and he goes, yep, that's Joe. Like he said one line and it's the best line in the room.
But then he dug in. Like then he went back to the non-binary thing, like over and over again. Like a minute later, or 30 seconds later, he would like dig his heels in and go. To be
fair, maybe he had no other material.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with that, Biff. Yeah. This is Nick's. Nick's is a legendary place. It's where, canceled Louis C.K. came from. It's where, Dan Cook came from. You go through the comedians who've come out of Boston since the 80s. And Nick's and Dick Doherty's were the two places where people really, came out of. And it was $20 a person, and you're dealing with not open micers, but the first woman who went up, one of the reasons I don't go back to Worcester Mics very much. And this guy would be another reason. I mean, they were very, not only were they just offensive, they just weren't funny. You can tell 9/11 jokes. If they're funny, you can. I've seen guys do 9/11 jokes.
Oh, Jim Carr has a great one.
And Gilbert Gottfried and yeah.
But you don't have to, and it's funny because so it was a fun night, but we got and my little guy literally had his headphones on. He was watching his like YouTube shorts the whole time. Periodically, like when the lady came by and asked if he wanted a drink, I asked if he wanted a beer. I'm pretty sure. And the waitress, by the way, I'm gonna say it, Joe, dibs. Because Joe likes when a 70-plus-year-old weathered by New England winters comes walking by, and I say dibs. like I don't know,
Tickles me like nothing else.
What I feel bad when I see a senior citizen working. Look, if you're a Walmart greeter and you're just saying hi to people, but if you're in a nightclub but
at least it wasn't a strip club.
We don't know what she does after, but I honestly pretty sure I could have got him a beer and nobody would have batted an eye. But I had to I had to shake him to get his attention because he was so wrapped up in what he was watching. Because he's not allowed to have his phone during the week, so it's like, okay, here's your little meth,
Here's your hit.
So
Don't smoke it all at once.
But it was, and then we walked back to the hotel. We just hung out and chatted for a bit. I have a really good feeling that All-Star's daughter is really leaning towards school on the East Coast, and it's funny because his wife they went to Yale together, and she had either forgotten or just because she hasn't been here in so long and traveled this region, she was so delighted that they landed in like Maine, rented a car, went to look at a couple of schools in Maine, was in Boston a couple hours later, In the morning, they were going down to Yale. Then they were going to New York City for a couple days to see plays.
Right.
And then they were going to Montreal. And it's all right here. It's like a 4-hour drive here, a 5-hour. And she was just loving that. I think her daughter was, and even the mom, when, here's all the big schools that everybody knows.
Right.
Also, within a few blocks of where we are, here's Suffolk University. Here is Emmanuel College.
Of course, I said to Tommy, "Why would you bring your daughter to Boston? It's not a college town."
So it was a fun night. And then,
oh, by the way, what else
joke, isn't it?
Yes. What else is in New Haven? By the way.
Well, I did ask if Tommy was going to be taking his family to the Aaron Hernandez, museum down
and then his wife was like, "What? What? And why would Aaron? Who's Aaron Hernandez?" And the stories Jacques told about the Wikipedia entry of Aaron Hernandez, all the hits, all the hits, literally the hits.
Thank you.
Your Sod is also there. Did you tell him about going to see Sod?
You know what?
Never mind.
but they're going to see plays in New York. Then they're going to take a quick flight. And when I told her, it's like, we drive to Montreal, not on a regular basis, but like 3 times in the last couple of years, because it's a 4-hour drive. Yeah. You're driving the whole way through, like I always say, a Norman Rockwell postcard for 4 hours over the mountains of Vermont. It is great. And I was saying, try to check out this, try to check out that, Montreal. And she was like, it is so great that it's all right here. So I think their daughter had a really great time. And, it'd also be nice because, they be coming to visit, like for parents' weekends and moving them out there. So it'd be just a good chance to see your buddy. I then went the next night to see Steve Bjork, who we had on the podcast a few weeks ago, do stand up in another small place. He was great. But again, like the host, well, it's funny because the host at Nick's, the pre-host, introduced the host and said his name wrong, which should have set a tone there. So at this other place I went yesterday, it's a small place. It's a microbrewery in Nashua. Okay. Same thing. The host was fine. The first couple comedians were fine, but the second comedian had this whole thing, and I'm trying to think what it was, but he was going through all the different nationalities and making, I'm like, is he really going to make a Polish joke right now? And he did. He was like, and it's like, and if it's Polish, it's this. And it's like, it was, I'm trying to think.
By the way, that reminds me of the great Polish joke in Ted Lasso.
My God.
When Nate's girlfriend's like, we're going to go visit my family in Poland. You can watch a screw in a light bulb. And he goes, that's funny. And she goes, why is that?
Shit. She set him up so bad. Let me see. She set him up akin to Halloween, Christmas, Juneteenth. She just
but anyway, back to Nashua.
And it wasn't. And then he made like a Mid-Eastern joke and just played on all. And I was very happy.
And he didn't even have any puppets like Jeff Dunham.
Not one. Yeah. Go through, at least take your sock off your head and go suck. But
tell the racist joke through the puppet.
I'm not telling the joke. It's this guy over here, And I will say that it was a New Hampshire crowd. It might usually play in certain places. The place that you and I saw Steve Bjork a few weeks back, it might have played there. I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad. But as he's setting it up, and he's like, this and this. And then when he mentioned Polish, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And maybe I thought he was going to say Polish and everyone's going to laugh like, he's not really going to do the Polish joke, but set up.
It's a like, meta joke. Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. Just really leaned in. And then Steve gets up on the mic. Yes, there are hell gigs. Yes, there are bad rooms now and then. But generally speaking, there aren't bad rooms. There's bad comedians. And if you got a pro, and Steve was introduced, and even his introduction, clearly the host had no idea of who he is and the work he's done. He's like, oh, you can see him in Vegas all the time. He was just on our podcast talking about he's single dad of 4 guys. He hasn't played out of the region in years because he can't. He's not like every other weekend dad. He has full custody of 4 children.
Maybe you had him confused with like Steve Lawrence from Steve.
You know what? Could have very well been that.
Had him confused with Bjork from the
actual Bjork.
But I'm sitting there, and it's funny because All Star was like, when we were leaving, Nick's like, is this really what you want to be doing? And I'm like, no. Like, I have no delusions of mediocrity. I'm not going to get a Netflix special. I'm not going to be a touring guy, opening for, Burt Kreischer on the road or something like that. But it's like the stuff that Steve does. It's like, yeah, I 100%. Like, if I was a 5th comic at Nick's, I would have been right in the middle of the pack and be comfortable being there. Same thing. There was only 3 comedians in the host, but if I was like, the 5th one there, I would have been, clearly steps behind Steve in his crowd work and how he turned the room instantly. But I'm like, but it's fun. It's, when I did, the Luna Theater a couple weeks ago, and there's real people in the room, that's actually fun to tell jokes in front of non-comedians. If I could do that a couple times a month as a glorified hobby, that's what I'm working towards. And over the next 6 months, when I get back from LA, I'm kind of going to revamp like my approach and what I'm doing. Open mics are always important. You got to work out stuff. There's nothing, you can't get away from reps. Like, you have to put in, the time in the batting cage. You just have to do it. But I'm getting more selective. It's like, there's really no reason to drive an hour there and say it in front of 3 people who've seen you 10 times in the last 4 weeks, because they're all at the same mic. So I'm going to have to mix it up. But anyways, the focus is Joe met All-Star, and I was absolutely delighted.
Yes, was I. It was a good time. I'm glad we met. I wish his daughter the best of luck finding a college, because it's hard out there. It's hard, and it's not also a good prospect going into knowing that you're going to be like owing money for the next 20 years, regardless of whether it's her parents or her.
Right. Because Biff fucked up, Joe fucked up, I fucked up. Why didn't we have sport prodigy children who got the free ride from like my brother has it right. His daughter, and I gotta find the name of the tournament she's in. And I'm going to send it to Maria, because I'm quite sure Maria knows the tournament she's in. It's this huge international women's tournament going on right now in either Wisconsin or Milwaukee, where her team's in the final. Here's the funny thing. She signed to go to the high school she's at now when she was in the 7th grade. Like 2 years before she got there, they're like, here's your free ride to this, $30,000. She's only a freshman. Yeah. And this tournament is a college scouting combine. So it's mostly juniors and seniors.
So she's good, huh?
So she's crazy good. Like, why didn't we do that? Like, why weren't our kids naturally gifted athletes who had this insane it's 1:00 in the morning, get off the rink in the backyard, you got to get the bus in 5 hours time.
If everybody's special,
nobody is. So no, it was great. So management, I said, had gone down to New Orleans for Duran Duran thing. It was one of the cities where my oldest kid has heard about, so he wanted to go down. And he's a good traveler. He wants to go to the small restaurants, do things only you can do in that city. And he's not like a jazz guy, but he's like, yeah, I want to go into some jazz clubs. And
live jazz is
it's completely different.
Yeah, he should experience it, right? I mean, you should experience that.
1,000%. And New Orleans jazz is so much different than New York jazz and stuff.
And Utah jazz.
Utah jazz.
Utah jazz. There you go.
Oh,
you haven't lived until you've heard Utah jazz.
But he had
going to a lake in Los Angeles. Kind of like
I love Dick Smith, trumpet master.
He did text me. He's like, Papa, everybody here is drunk all the time. And he wasn't judging or aghast. It was just, you have to pay attention when you're walking.
House? Hey-oh! No. I kid because I love.
So my parents got so, we've told the story before. Joe did stand up a couple times. My parents loved Joe. They went to see 18-year-old Joe and left without paying their bar tab and stuck Bill with
those staggering
Joe.
Drunks left me with a tab.
My parents used to drink a little, my dad, world-renowned physicist, world-renowned drunk. No, he wasn't a drunk, but they were very social drinkers, and they had quite the social life. My mom was one of those, I only have two gin and right. I only have 2 gin and tonics a night. And it's like, yeah, but how many beers do you wash it down with? But no, it was so he had a great time down there. But management 4 months early said, "Oh, Franz Ferdinand is coming to town. He loves France. Oh, they're opening for the Pixies. You guys can take him." I love the Pixies.
Or Pixies.
It's just Pixies, but
I know.
If I say anyway, so
I get you.
I love them. I've seen them a dozen times. I saw them when they reunited in like 2004, and it was great, and I love them, and even their new stuff is great. I have no desire to go to shows. I just don't. Like, if I'm going to go out, I like to go out and do stand-up but she booked this New Orleans trip. I have these tickets, and my little guy's like, "Oh, I'll go." It's like, "Oh, okay, fine." We drive down. It's in that. It's funny because I was at Fenway Park. I was inside Fenway Park a few weeks ago for a wedding ceremony, and this club called MGM is inside Fenway. I got as Joe calls it, the Columbo parking space right out front. It costs $40 to park down there, but I'm like, I'm early. I'm always early. I loop around. I found a place 30 yards from the front door. It was great.
Nice.
Skip the first band. We got something to eat. The second band, Franz Ferdinand. We went in about 2-3 songs in. See their hits that he would know. There was no place to sit. And the wife got floor seats instead of the balcony seats. It's like, "Oh, you like the Pixies. You're going to be right up front." She goes to concerts all the time.
Right.
If I post, because she goes by concerts all the time, there's always one seat near the front. You know what I mean? There's always an open seat. And if you want to move up by yourself, it's a lot easier than when you're moving up with a friend. So in New Orleans, I don't know where she got her seat, but if she wanted to, like she has at most concerts, could literally reach out and grab John Taylor, bass player of Duran Duran, not the lawyer from Los Angeles, foot. So she assumes that's what I want to do. No, we are different people.
You're there to distract us security while she grabs John Taylor.
Thank you, Joe. You understand. You complete me. And it was that old club thing and Joe just went through this, taking his kid to a show recently. 30 minutes between the bands. That's a long time for a kid with ADHD who's not really into it. So the show starting, we move in, the Pixies finally come on. And as they're putting the guitars on, as the drummer's sitting down, within 12 feet in every direction, people just start vaping.
Of course, yeah.
And what's old is new again. Like, I used to hate going to clubs because people smoked. Yeah. And now it's honestly, I had Cheech and Chong on one side of me.
Right. No, absolutely.
The Mystery Machine rolls up on the other side with Scooby and the gang. And my little guy, like 2 songs
I love how your pot references don't leave 1977. Like, that's like, there, you could have at least thrown in Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. But, you're racist. It's like, no, look it. Anyways, but I did. I said to the little guy, it's like, we can move to the very back. He's like, okay. It didn't matter. By the third song, you smell like, you were Gulliver's Travels, you shrugged down and you fell into a bong. And and he's like, "Are you going to be mad, Papa? But I want to go." I'm like, "Buddy, we are 100% out of here. It doesn't matter to me. Like, would I have stayed and hated, the smell? Sure. But I spent a couple $100. I spent a couple hours getting there. I would have stuck it out, but he's, no, I'm not going to put him through that. The next day I drag him to a nightclub with my hockey buddy and Joe. So
Because Daddy wants to see funny people.
Okay, so now we can't avoid it anymore. Let's get right into it. A world leader was arrested on financial crimes, and I know you don't want to talk about it, but guys, what's going over in Scotland matters. I don't know if you know this, Biff, but the former leader of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, I think is how you pronounce her name, was Nicola just arrested yesterday or on Friday of financial shenanigans with how her party, which she's the head of, moved money around. So I look, I know we don't want to fall into the political thing all the time, but when a world leader, a former world leader, gets indicted and gets arrested, I think we should weigh in on it. Joe, your thoughts about what's going on in Scotland?
All I know is that if it's not Scottish,
it's crap.
Thank you.
I'm
sure, hey, you know what? Scotland Yard's got nothing better to do. So it's not like, well, did they solve Pan Am Flight 103? Is that still a cold case?
Oh, actually, no. I'm going to put that down on the bottom. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so did you hear about this?
Oh, you're going to put the victims of Flight 103 on the bottom.
Wait, I'm trying to alphabetize their names. Give me a moment.
That news is so old that the airlines hasn't existed for 35 years.
Right. It's so old that a TV show about the airline that was supposed to be retro has been canceled for 5 or 10 years.
It's so old. And
how old is it?
1988, 89. I haven't gone to college yet, and I'm working at a sailing fan distributor. It's a 4-person operation in Boston, and a guy who was on my assistant coach on my junior B team kind of was like, dude, I got this do-nothing job, blah, 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 every now and then a fan goes missing, and, the 4 people who work there, get a free lunch, would just say. And so it was, so I worked there for off and on for 2 years going through school. One day, and I don't know what started it, but this guy is trying to help this woman who is agitated. Again, I was in the room, but kind of on the other side. But when it started to escalate, everybody, the few people there, the woman had a breakdown, just an absolute breakdown, and started screaming. Her son was on that flight.
Oh.
And she was just, however it came up in this moment, and it was, somebody's going to have to call the Boston police, and somebody's going to have to come take this woman who, and I've yet, and it was. I
would you want to clarify. The son was a passenger.
His son was a passenger on
sure.
the flight. Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Are you old enough to remember Ray Flynn, Biff, or Joe?
Yeah.
The man. Ray Flynn's niece and her mom came into the store once to buy a fan, and they bought a couple fans. They were going to be delivered. Asked my card. I didn't have a card, but they're like, oh, if we come back, we want, to deal with you. I guess the daughter had said something to the mom, and that's how they got my number. And the girl called and asked me out, and I went on a couple dates with Ray Flynn. At the time, though, I'm living in Fitchburg, and no car from that's right when I was going to Fitchburg. I wasn't going to commute back and forth. I was going to a school with an 8-to-1 girl to guy ratio and playing on the hockey team. This is even before the band. I'm like, I don't need to go through this for that type thing. But anyways, the Pan Am flight, every time somebody mentioned that, I'm like, oh. But back to our world leader, there was another indictment, which is great only because I do this bit, Biff, where I talk about how hard it is to buy management special gifts, because we've been together for 20 years, and what haven't I bought her that I haven't already gotten her? Plus there's so many gift giving events. Valentine's Day is right after Christmas. Her birthday is a few weeks later. Then there's Trump indictments. Then always gets a laugh, and then the anniversary. Look, that joke is almost going to be an evergreen, because we still got January 6th stuff coming up. We got Georgia coming up. I mean, that's that. Look, I had to take out after 2 weeks. I have a little joke about turning the clocks back and it messing up my life. You can only use that for a week or two twice a year until we do away with daylight savings. But man, this entertainment joke. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So
yeah. Just to timestamp this podcast, Trump's being indicted because they found classified, unknown to the rest of the world, apparently, that he was storing these classified documents.
Well, is it really unknown to the rest of the world?
True.
All rest of the world?
Yeah, I know. Not all of the rest of the world, but basically, like at Mar-a-Lago, in a bathroom and a ballroom stage, there were boxes of documents just like sitting there and stacked, 4 high. By the way, what were your favorite internet things to have come out of the discovery of these boxes? Because mine.
Wait, hold on. Before you say it, because I think we're on the same page. He was obsessed with these boxes to the point where there was fights between him and his wife because they had to scale back luggage they were bringing from point A to point B because he traveled with the boxes, and he had a box guy, and there's different aides. There's different aides in the testimony because it's come out that it's like he would travel with and he would be he kept saying, I don't want people touching my boxes. He was very particular, and that's why. And the poor son of a bitch who is a co-indicted conspirator. There's a guy, his ex-Navy guy, who. His job was move boxes from point A to point B.
Boxman.
Okay. Joe, what was your favorite meme?
The Indiana Jones one.
Oh, okay.
So
not see it yet, yeah.
Somebody edited.
Okay.
Somebody edited the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they have they show we have top people, and then they have the hammering of the crate. And then you see the close-up of the top secret crate, and it's transported, and then it pans out, and the crate is superimposed onto the bathroom scene from Mar-a-Lago with all the other boxes, and I thought that was fantastic. The other one is somebody said Bed Bath and Beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's good. Well, the great thing is the picture in the bathroom have. And I'll ask, Biff, you've traveled a lot. You've traveled around this world, more than Joe and I have, I think. Have you ever been into a bathroom that had a chandelier? Because I don't know many. It's like, it's funny because I heard years ago somebody, like before he was president, say that he is what a poor person, he lives like what a poor person thinks a rich person lives like. He's always had money, but he lives like Nathan Harshot's dad. Remember how I always wanted to have
it's that whole idea of showing off your riches, right? The whole gold toilet, mentality, right? I mean,
and I remember when Obama was stumping for Joe Biden, saying, because just weeks before the election, Trump did the turn, and he's like, the man of the people, the blue collar. And he's like, Obama's like, he spent his whole life making sure everybody knew he had a gold toilet. Come on, man. It was like, Obama was just great. But no, my favorite one was Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Sitting on top of the boxes, clasping his hands, saying, my precious. But here's the unfunny thing. And Chris Hayes on MSNBC said it. The day before the warrant was executed. I hate saying raid because raid makes it sound like, the FBI was the bad guys here.
Right.
You know who hates saying raid? Roaches.
Yep. You have derailed. So but there was footage, and I'm not kidding. His private plane was loaded with boxes to go to his New Jersey. What is it? Bell Ranch, whatever. He has a place in New Jersey where his wife is buried. His second wife, the one who died the day before she was to testify against him in a federal
under
crime.
Totally normal circumstances.
Totally normal circumstances. No autopsy release. Buried the next day.
What state did you say that was in? What state?
Yep. Let's see. No.
It's a nice ex-wife he got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to her.
I cannot confirm because look, I don't want to speculate if it's in the same golf course where Jimmy Hoffa was buried. Maybe she was, but it's down at the end of the alley. It's just
that is a fun.
Just
That
right
is an
there.
insulting,
But-
comment
but
you're
they-
making.
Yeah,
Like
but
they're
Hayes-
gonna they're
Yeah.
gonna make something so traceable that they're gonna use the same place to bury 2 bodies. Come on.
Ivanka
Chris-
Trump,
better
Ivanka
than
Trump,
that.
she was just there to pick up furniture, like some nice used
Yeah.
furniture
Yeah.
that was being given to her, and then
stop the anxiety. But they never went to the place in New Jersey. It's like there's footage
Yeah.
that's been released that they knew they moved boxes because they had a sense that the shoe's going to drop and let's get these boxes. And the scariest thing is, the former head of the FBI, who I heard on 2 different shows saying, the scary thing is the files that are missing. Where are those files? The empty files that they sure were missing. But if a spy comes into Mar-Largo,
Is it an FBI guy or a CIA guy?
no, this was an FBI guy talking, former
Okay.
FBI. He
Yeah.
goes, spies don't come in and steal your shit.
Yeah.
They don't want you to
Yeah.
know that they have
Yeah.
your information. It's not like somebody could come in and steal it. How many people have come in and taken pictures of it?
Right.
Like the last thing they want you to know is they
Right.
know what you know. That's
Right.
the whole thing about being a spy.
Yeah.
And so we have no idea how long this damage is going to be, but either way, we can make jokes about it as Western civilization burns, as the entire GQP party, with the exception of Mitt Romney, everybody's rallying around him and saying, this is political and all this stuff. Even the people running against him for the nominee don't have the gumption to say, yeah, this is really bad. But my favorite thing is, I don't care. Well, everything but, the right wing keeps playing over and over that speech that he gave before the election, how when he's president, he's going to put in that law to make mishandling classified documents. And he said it every day on the speech. And I cannot believe it's real. I thought, okay, this is photoshopped and it's great. But Hillary Clinton broke her silence and posted on Instagram,
Oh yeah.
what about her emails hat?
Emails,
She was
yeah.
wearing a hat that said, what about her email? Anyways, unless you guys want to go deeper into this,
Heck no.
let's go into games. Joe got a good, it was fun because talking to Tommy and his wife and his daughter, had a nice little Zelda talk. They were out on the streets of Boston.
yeah, his daughter mentioned. Tommy mentioned that his daughter was wanting to get. Do they not have a Switch? Is that what I gleaned from that situation?
Yeah, I think the Wii U is the last system they bought.
Right, the one right before the Switch, which came out 6 years ago. Tommy, a little, come on. I get it. You know what? You're trying to shape your daughter into a productive person who isn't distracted by all these bells and whistles. I get it. But it's a crime because The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a fantastic game that everybody should enjoy. And you know what? Unfortunately, I do have 2 Switches, and I know you think I'm teasing because nobody has 2 Switches, but I do. I wish I could have donated one of my Switches to her on the spot and say, "Here, just take mine," and
Here, take this.
Right,
Have a
I
sandwich.
yeah, you could find a Legend of Zelda game and just say, "Here, I get it now."
On the other hand, like I found my son's Switch under the couch. Apparently it's been missing for about 8 months.
Under the couch.
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird place to play. the Switch.
So yeah, Tommy, didn't buy every new game system for their kids like you and I did. Okay, correction. We bought the game systems for ourselves that our
Yeah,
kid then
yeah,
used.
yeah.
Correction. But look, Joe, he's no better than us because he's in Boston with his daughter looking at colleges in Boston, and your son's looking at colleges in Boston. So who's, so I mean, tomato is what I say.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish them the best I wish her the best in finding a college and a Nintendo Switch with The Legend of Zelda.
Thoughts and
Because,
prayers.
Yeah, it's a great game. I do have a little bit of gaming news.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I think I mentioned this to you when we were on the way to see Tommy, is that there was like a little retro convention-ish type thing or
Yeah,
a vendor thing happening in Massachusetts, like 20 minutes from where I live, Saturday. So and I found out about it on a Craigslist post of all things. You go on there to cruise, and then the next thing you know, you're stumbling upon these things.
yeah.
Do they still have the missed encounter section? Is that still up there?
I haven't checked, but anyway, so yeah, I went to this place. I took my two kids. We all went up, and I was expecting, kind of like, some like a table next to a dumpster kind of thing, set up. But it was at a VFW in Melrose, Massachusetts. It started on time, and we were like one of the first people there. But it was pleasantly nice. It was like it wasn't as big as the one that we usually go to every year in Connecticut, Retro World Expo.
So there was no guy wrestling?
No. Well, there was a bum fight. I take that out. I shouldn't have said that. Unhoused fight. It was an unhoused fight. 10 in the morning. Where's your dignity? Anyway.
Was that the undercard or the title?
Couldn't tell. I mean, really, what's the difference nowadays? But no, it was just vendors. But I thought we spent money. Yes, a fool in it's true what they say about a fool in their money. We spent money on stuff and picked up some stuff. I talked my older son into getting me an early Father's Day present, which he did. It was nice.
I hired him to do an edit job for me, and you instantly reach into that pocket. You
yoink.
I'm proud of you. That's what I'm saying. I mean, right. So basically, I got you a Father's Day gift.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And I got you.
You did.
Speaking of gifts, by the way.
No.
Happy birthday. Don't edit this part out, you idiot. Happy birthday to our dear leader, Jacques. It is today, as we're recording, it is his XX birthday. And we
I'll put it out. It's a Teddy Bruschi birthday. And yeah, I think I have a second generation or third generation Apple TV box, which I don't know why we have, because we have a smart TV, but we have a less than first generation controller that Joe hates when he uses when he comes over. So, he got me, is it the second best birthday gift I've ever gotten? It might be. Pales a little bit in comparison to the birthday present I got 11 years ago today.
Which was?
Yep. Well, it was so Jacques and I decided that we should celebrate the LA Kings Stanley Cup Championship by actually being at the Stanley Cup Championship game.
That was a good present.
Biff called in the morning. Hey, you want to go to the game today? Who is this? And how do you do such a great Biff impersonation? And yeah, because everybody, they played the New Jersey Devils. Yeah. The Kings were 3 games, up, 3 games to none. And the town was
interesting. The
town was on fire.
Yeah. Basically, what happened was Kings went up 3 games to none, and then Game 4, which was not when they won, was like the place to be if you're in LA. So like everybody and their sisters, like apparently there were Kardashians present at the game and shit, stuff like that. And everybody thought this was going to be it. And the tickets were stupid, ridiculous. I said, you know what? I cannot justify paying this stupid price to sit in nosebleeds. So I didn't buy the tickets to that game initially. I eventually got in, but that's a different issue. But just randomly, I basically just kind of kept on with the games, but by the time they lost 2 games in a row, and by the time Game 6 came around, the ticket prices plummeted. And now they weren't cheap, but they weren't like really, really stupid prices like they were in Game 4. So I said, well, you know what? Fucking Jacques' birthday. I'm gonna grab this pair right here.
And they were great. They were just kitty corner of the net. Yeah. And I think it was, well, first of all, Game 4 nationally televised, and it was one of those annoying things where NBC was losing their shit because they were more interested in showing you who was there than the game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And you were missing parts of the game, and it was one of those things where so many people who have never been to a hockey game were there. And it squeezed people like us out. And, our friend John and his kid and a few people went to New Jersey because season ticket holder forever, King's first stick boy. Oh, did you go to that trip? Oh, Biff went.
I was the one that convinced John to go, and he sat in my section. Because the reason why I went to that game was that when game 3 ended, I looked at the tickets. I said, "Oh, this is stupid. I'm not going to buy these tickets." But just randomly, I went to see how much the tickets were in New Jersey. And then I found this one seat. Now $600. I paid $600 for it. Now $600 are not cheap for any sporting event, but it's like really right up front in the near the blue line. Incredible seats, and it's for the Stanley Cup Finals. It turned out that it was a face value ticket that somebody just put back in because they said, "Screw this. This is done." Right, and so it was a face value ticket. And it turned out that not only was it, a $600 face value ticket, right? I thought it said row 3. It was actually, I had an unobstructed view because I was actually directly above the tunnel where the Devils come in, right? And then, but the best part of it was that as we had to kind of go in this separate entrance area before we got to our seating area, because that separate entrance area was the full buffet.
Wow.
So there was a buffet tied to the seat.
Dude,
incredible.
That's that is, and that poor guy who sold the ticket is like, I better get some of this money back.
Right. Well, he probably doesn't want to be there. They were definitely gonna. He was definitely not gonna see his team win the Stanley Cup that day anyway, right? It was a stay alive game.
You had never seen the cup raised in person.
That's correct. Right.
Okay, so because a couple years earlier, Biff was out of town.
You actually offered me. No, you actually offered me the ticket. I was in town, but
you were okay.
Yeah, I had to do this. I had a presentation due the following morning with this other guy, and he couldn't even get on until he had his day was over. So it's just you know what. I mean, it's like I can't not do this. So,
and here's the shame of hockey, Joe, is like if the Kings are doing well, it's packed. It's just packed. If the Kings aren't doing well, but the Bruins, the Rangers, a big hockey city comes to town, it's packed with those fans.
Yeah.
20 miles away, the Ducks can be in the Stanley Cup Finals. And my two takeaways, they were in the Stanley Cup Finals 3-4 years earlier. They lost Game 7 to New Jersey.
Yep.
And we have a friend at the time who sold the ad boards, the boards. Now they're digital. They can superimpose them. But back then you had to physically have it. Before the Stanley Cup Finals, they couldn't get people to pay for the ad boards and ended up selling the four corners to Canadian Tire, the days before the cup. So, so it's going to be game. So the same thing, I don't know how it worked out, but it was game 5 or game 6. It was a possible cup winning game. Yeah. And one of our friends, no name mentioned, John, calls and says, here's a card, find out who wants to go, get us in the building.
Yeah.
And I go down the list, and it's we end up, going. And because it's funny, his wife just happened to be in Tampa a few years before.
Right.
And on a whim, same thing. Tampa Bay Lightning, best team in hockey, 2-3 years in a row at the time, can't sell out the Stanley Cup Finals. And they were in town for, I think, an art thing. Like his wife's friend is an artist, and they just happened to be in town. Oh, the cup's on. Let's go there and just to be at an event type thing.
Right.
And so here's John, stick boy of the Kings in 1966. Right. Yeah. Never saw the cup raised. And so Biff didn't see that. Yeah. So when this game 6 rolled around, and it's funny because it was one of those things where, now that I'm not a sports guy anymore per se, it's okay. I mean, I've been in the building when the Celtics won a championship. I've been in the building when my Kings won a championship. I was there for opening day in 2005 after the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004 to see the banner raised and to get the rings, which, by the way, I just saw on Twitter the other day. Somebody says, this is my favorite memory of the 2004 Boston Red Sox. When the 2004-2005 season started, the opening game was against the Yankees. Mariano Rivera, the relief pitcher of the Yankees,
the 2005 season,
who gave up the home run,
a standing ovation from the crowd.
And he came out smiling. He tipped his cap. It was good sportsmanship on his side, but the round of applause that he got. So the thing is, I've seen it. Like I'm good. I'm good.
So you're welcome for the Apple TV remote that I got you.
Yes, thank you. What was my reaction when you gave it to me?
You gave it to your younger son and said, Joe gave us a present.
And I'm like, and it's one of those when I bought, my kid who has no interest in hockey, new pair of gloves that happen to fit me. Joe likes to come over and he's frustrated with our controller, but no, it was great. So glad you got some gaming news. Now that we're talking about sports, I don't think I've talked about it since I was on, but my little guy, and stop me if I have, because I'm dumb. My little guy has fallen down the football, FUTBAL rabbit hole. If he's not out on the pitch playing, he is home playing FIFA with his friends. Joe saw it in the car the other day. I handed Joe a book, which is weird for me to have a book in my car, but I'm like, hey, Joe, I think you left this book in my car. Do you remember the book I handed you?
Was it the English to Portuguese dictionary?
That's it. Because his three best friends speak Portuguese, and they're going to try to help him. So one of them gifted him this Portuguese. And all his favorite players. Dude, it's like talking to you now, Biff, about hockey, where he'll be like, Papa, if Ronaldo played for the Dutch team in 72, do you think they would have won the world? Like what? And now because he uses my phone, my Instagram, feed is nothing but comics and football highlights, it's delicious. I love it so much. But I was in his room. He I'm like, hey, who you playing? Blah, blah, blah. And he had like the MLS thing on it because he usually likes to play Richmond in the Prem League. And I'm like, oh, we have a team here. And he was so excited. And so I took him and his two best buddies to Gillette. I have never been to Gillette Stadium.
Okay, yep.
And just kind of like the tickets you got in New Jersey. I didn't get them online. I didn't want to pay ticket fees. Right. It's a revolution. They're not selling out.
Right.
I'll go see Mr. T at the mall later. And so I drive there. Walk up to the ticket window, and I said to the lady, I said, you can put us anywhere. I said, they're going to be up and down. We're going to be in the concourse more than we're going to be sitting down checking these things out. And she's like, oh, well, these are good. They're right up, blah, blah, blah. You don't have anybody in front of you. So, they're getting up and down. They won't be disturbing people. Over the tunnel, over the visiting team's tunnel.
Nice.
It's like maybe we're not perpendicular with the post, but maybe we're perpendicular with the back post of the net.
Okay. And
there's nobody in our row. Because technically you're kind of behind the goal. And when we first sit down, my what is he infected with? Oh, he has the thing. What is it called? Oh yeah, white privilege. My little guy is like, Papa, you're not supposed to sit behind the nets. These are bad tickets. And I'm thinking, you motherfucker, I'm paying for you and your two friends, and parking alone was $50. You're going to sit down.
Ooh, $50.
I don't remember. When you asked if I wanted to go to the game, Biff, that day, did I ask where the seats were before I answered the question? When we went to the Olympics in 2010 and we walked up to the ticket office, did we give a shit where we were sitting? Get us in the building.
Well, actually, you got us great seats for the curling because that nice young lady from Calgary sat 2 rows behind us. And if it wasn't for her, we would have been mystified the whole time.
It was that. And I'm so glad that the wave, when you saw the wave go through honestly, Joe, it was electrifying. Being in that curling building was electrifying because when you see curling on TV, you just see USA play Canada. It's set up where there's 4 countries, there's 4 games going on at once.
At the same time, it's great.
8 countries.
It's like bowling. It's like watching bowling alleys, right? Kind of a thing.
It was always some huge thing going on. It was wonderful. But anyways, we take them into the game and they score like they're a better team. They're clearly the better team, but they're down 2-0 at the end of the first half. And with like 2-3 minutes left of the first half, there's a corner kick right where we are, right where we are. And it was a header. And I put it on Instagram. I put it on Twitter. I think I sent it to the group chat. I would give anything to feel that again. Like those three boys lost it. Like absolutely lost it. And I don't think halftime had rolled around yet. And he's like, "Can we get season tickets?" and
some better seats for crying out loud.
No, because he realized we will only sit there because you can hold on to the railing. There's nobody in front of you. You can stand up and scream. If you guys see the video again, when I say they're screaming, it's like it's crazy. And the funny thing is, and talk about how the three of us has failed as parents again. There was so they score a tying goal early in the second half, and the shot came from outside the box. Like this shot had to take 2 buses and a cab to connect you. And the mom behind us says to her kid, it's like, "Oh, Trevor, he's your age." And I'm like, and I turn around and Trevor's a kid. And I Google the guy who scored the goal, 18 years old. He's been on the Revs for a year and a half from the town that Joe lives in. And I called Joe and like, "Well, we failed. Apparently, our kids could have been our meal ticket already. Why didn't we have children again born with phenomenal God-gifted talents?" Says
and I replied, "You didn't have to call. That could have been a text easily."
So my sports thing. So I'm out of sports. Hold on. Not so fast. So now there's more sports on in my house than ever, but because Peacock has like the Premier League and the Championship League, and between Wrexham and Ted Lasso, and then he had me download. It's a French app, beIN Sports, BEIN. And they have La Liga. They have beIN Sports, so they have the French league, the Italian league, and La Liga, which is the Spanish league, and it's just always on, or he's playing FIFA, and it's great. It's great.
Speaking of television, which we weren't, but anyway,
nope, we're on to television now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of soccer and Ted Lasso, it's over, baby. It's all over. Ted Lasso is no more.
So, spoiler free, what did you think, Joe?
I was sad when he died.
Yeah, no, I can't believe that.
Yeah, I was sad. I mean, it wasn't just him; it was the entire. When they went down in that plane crash, I was like, "Oh man!" Just like they did back in the, I don't know, when the Andes, what was that called? Alive and
I think that's it. I think it's Alive.
The Colombian team. Anywho, no, it was. I finally caught up and finished Ted Lasso so that Jacques and I could talk about it in depth on the phone for an hour after the finale aired, and it was a fine ending to a fine show.
Did we talk more recently about Ted Lasso or about the Beatle documentary when that came out a year ago? Because we had some really long. I think the documentary of the Beatles was 8 hours long, and I think after we both watched it, we had a 9-hour conversation.
Yes, and I'm still waiting for that extended cut from Peter Jackson. Where is the extra footage? I want the extra 12 hours.
When Betty White dies at 99 and people say it's too soon, she lived a great life. When Peter Jackson puts out an 8-hour documentary, and the only complaint is, why wasn't it longer?
Could have been longer. But yeah, Ted Lasso.
I will say though, the thing that drove me bananas after a while was that there were those filler, video that they always used when they only had audio, right? So they had those, right?
Yes.
And then after a while, I don't know why it just started to really annoy me. There's a little Ringo kind of tilting his head, and then
they could fix that now with AI. They could just they could put the Beatles in with they could put them in into Goodfellas and just show them show a clip from Goodfellas with the Beatles instead.
I'm guessing, Biff, it's not all hockey all the time because there's only a game every other day. But as far as I understand, and I only know this because was there a brawl in Game 4, a real?
Yeah, it ended with it ended ugly. Yeah.
Like my prom date ugly, or 1970s.
Not 1970s. I mean, it's not ever going to get to be 1970s ugly, but it was kind of a kind of a more modern brawl, and it was basically you have a kind of a ticked off team, and but I mean it's kind of their own doing. Like they're just not, they're just being outplayed.
Are you going to be watching anything once the season ends?
I think I want to just try to catch up to a lot of things, including like there's an anime that I was watching with my son that I have to really catch up on. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I did start watching Beef, so I will continue with that. But
I don't know. Like, wife and I, it's going to be tough because we might power through Miss Maisel in the next 2 days because she's gone for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. But
I think Miss Maisel's on one of the ones that I don't stream.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on.
Oh, we do have Amazon.
Yeah, everybody has Amazon.
There was something that's on like HBO that we don't.
Succession.
Oh, that must be it. Yeah, I think that was the one that. Yeah.
And Barry, of course.
Oh, so great. So great. I can't believe he lived. So what do we got for parenting tips? We have already discussed we failed because none of our children are our mail ticket by 18
right
because of athletic paralysis.
My parenting tip is get your kids a Nintendo Switch early. Really buy in. Don't wait till the 6th year when it's near end of life. Buy in early. You want to get in on day one.
You got something there, Biff? Are you like not leaving a Switch under a couch for 8 months?
Yeah. You know what? No, I got nothing.
So your Jacques Biff's parenting tip should be sweep under the couch more often. Jeepers creepers. Like a Swiffer would have caught that about 6 months ago.
My parenting tip is like, keep your promises when you make them. And for years, I promised my little dream squashers, you have to have something athletic in your life. It can be a team sport. It can be whatever. Jiu-jitsu makes sense because you can come and go if you need. You're not going to screw other people if you miss something. But you don't have to do this, if you can keep me from putting you in the car. If your jiu-jitsu skills surpass mine, so work hard and you can get out of it earlier. Or if you find your own fucking thing, you do that.
Right.
Yeah. And the oldest one, he's going to start his job. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Right.
Starts his job as a lifeguard in 2 weeks.
Yep.
The day after school gets out, he has 10 days of paid lifeguard training. Yep. And
awesome.
He's psyched about it. He's really, really psyched. Like going to the gym to get in shape to be the lifeguard thing where he has certain medical conditions where he has to do certain workouts, and it's always been a fight for him to do these things. Now he's found this thing. And on the other hand, it's like the little one, he will just go to the fridge in the morning, take out a gallon of ice cream and just sit there and eat it. And neither his mom or I say anything because he doesn't eat a lot of food. He's not like a food guy. Let me check my notes. Me.
Yeah.
But he burns so much.
Yeah.
I mean, he is,
and that's wasteful. Honestly, don't burn the food. Eat it.
Yeah. But he does. It's like it's a pain in the butt because he doesn't take the bus home on the days he has soccer practice.
Right.
I pick up him and his 2 friends, and which, by the way, the other day he's like, I got to go downstairs and use your printer before we go for school. It's like, it's always a hassle to get him in the car, but it's never been like, I have to go to your office and use the printer. His team has suffered because they don't have enough players. So they have barely enough players to make a game.
Right. Yeah.
So if one kid's family has an obligation and you can't make it, they've played half the games they've played with 9 players on the pitch. He went out and he went online and he found a boilerplate Premier League contract, and he rewrote it, and he went to school with contract/flyers to recruit kids to come play on his team. That's how much he loves it. And I took a picture.
Funny.
I took a picture and I sent it to the coach and the guy who runs the league. And I'm like, this, and that's why they named him captain. It's like, I thought they were kind of being nice, like a month ago. I did. I thought everybody takes a turn doing this. He just started. He just started, but I guess he was early to practice like about a month or so ago. And when I got down to the field, because it's a half mile, it's a big thing to get there.
Right.
So I parked them where they can walk over the hill to get there. I parked the car a half mile away and then get there. And they asked if he can go over and run the 10 and under practice. And he's coaching the younger team. He's only been playing a few months, but he's at the point, like he's fallen so deep where he's studying it and he's doing the drills with the kids. So they named him that. But yeah, so that's my parenting tip. It's like when you make a promise and you know what I mean? And and just keep, and so now they're both, it's unbelievable because he looked down the other day and he's like, Papa, I have a muscle. And he does. He has these calf muscles. He's a stick. He has to run around the shower to get wet.
Yeah.
But he truly is. So if he wants to sit there and eat a gallon of ice cream, it's going to be, I mean, you know, it is. It's like, so on Mondays and Wednesdays, I pick him and his 3 friends up. Like I'm a free Uber, you know.
There you go. Yeah.
But on the other days, instead of taking the bus home, I have to go because they all hang out after school, which is great. And they play there for an hour, which then obligates me for an hour of driving them, you know, around town. But I now know, it's really nice. I now know where the absolute tiny but best Brazilian and Portuguese mom and pop stores are. Okay. And we've gone in there and got spice because my kids like spicy food.
Right.
And so when they go over there, they're like, oh, this place is here. And you know, Galame, you know, and Galame is like, you can call me Gigi because people have trouble with the name. And I had trouble with the name at first where the accent goes. And this is the other great thing about the 3 kids that he's hanging out with, all sweethearts. Like absolutely. Like my kid's the one that their parents are probably saying, do you think Squishy should really be? But he's great and they're great. But my parenting tip is, keep a promise because sometimes like, you know, they figure it out
for him.
if you keep it.
No, it's great for that is great for him though. I mean, you know, it's always nice when, like, you know, my son found his kind of passion sport way late. He's a big UFC guy, but you know, it is what it is. He tried to do some of the stuff and he might go back to it, but you know, we got some like punching bags and stuff like at the house and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, it's great when they kind of figure it out themselves, right? So,
yes. Oh, by the way, big TV news. I am, and it kind of ties in with Pride Month. I'm celebrating Game Pride Month because on June 1st, Pluto TV launched a Family Feud 24-hour classic channel that I have been watching nonstop. So all the best Richard Dawson. And Ray Combs from the 80s as well. Episodes. And by the best, I mean any episode. Really. They're all good. I celebrate their entire catalog.
Yeah.
And there's also a Drew Carey Price is Right channel as well. So, you know, there's that. If you like that sort of thing, it's just fine. You know, it's nice seeing an audience with Drew Carey instead of the weird thing they have going on now post-COVID. Anyway, so that's what I'm celebrating. And I'm also celebrating the end of this podcast. So, Biff, thank you for carving out the time. Jacques, thanks for doing the typical Irish goodbye on the end of the podcast where you stop talking and you just leave. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Why you insist upon just miming up at the end, just dummying up, stifle. Yeah, so now it's up to me to wrap this thing up because Biff isn't going to do it. He doesn't get paid to do this shit. So who's got to do the heavy lifting? Joe Blow. That's who. Me. A sucker. Yes. Yep. So anyway, All-Star, pleasure meeting you and your family. I know you won't be listening to this because you'll be having fun with your family and not listening to this nonsense. But everybody else, enjoy the rest of your summer because we're not coming back until September, right? Is that the next podcast? We're not doing this again. You're
September of 2024.
Yes, right. Actually, right before the election gets heated up, we'll be in with the with bi-weekly election coverage in a year and a half. But no, I kid. We'll be back. We'll be back again, like Frosty. We'll be back again someday with more interviews with comics and Jacques' friends and my friends, my new friends, and your friends too. And just remember that each one of you is special, and we like you just the way you are. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up ready to say, I'm gonna make a snappy new day, it's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that Jacques will be back when the day is new, and Biff will have more ideas for you, and Joe will continue singing until the show's over. I will too. Don't forget.
Yeah.